Hello and welcome to another weekly episode of the Beer Fridge podcast. On this week's episode, there's a new dog in town.
Real beer, real breweries, real opinions. The Beer Fridge podcast.
Sure, home, real beer, real breweries, real opinions. The Beer Fridge podcast. As always, whether you listen and watch, make sure you subscribe, hit that ding-a-ling-a-ling to be notified of every single episode. You can show your support by giving us a 5-star rating. Show your official support by going to patreon.com/Beer Fridge podcast. We can get every single episode early. It costs you as little as £1, and in some cases, they'll whack it up for free, and you can join in for free for limited periods. Check don't check that. Check patreon.com/Beer Fridge podcast. The link is in the description. My name is Gavin. I've got my drinking buddy, and we'll have another one probably at some point. But we'll start off with our favourite, Callum. Good evening.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening, good evening. We will start off as we normally do, go around the virtual table and see what we're drinking to kick things off.
Let's go around the table.
What you got?
I am drinking Mad Squirrel. Yes, it's called Dark Tides, and it's a Baltic porter. Nice. A picture of a rather rabid-looking squirrel on the can there.
Oh, I think I've still got that, actually. That one.
Yeah, so this was a gift from Mark, so thanks for that, Mark. It's really nice. Yeah, caramel, roasty. It's just what you'd expect for a porter. Really, it's really smooth as well. Quite a decent head on it. Sometimes porters can have that kind of carbonated vibe that makes them feel a bit lighter than your average big dirty stout. But this one's really beefy, despite it being squirrel. It's really squirrely.
Really nice bit of squirrel.
Aye. No, but it's lovely.
Is that the OG discontinued Williams Bros glass?
No, that's my favourite glass, which is the Brewdog one.
Oh, right. I thought for a second it was.
I've still got the OG disc. I've still got the OG discontinued Williams Bros glass.
I've got it somewhere as well. Don't know where.
Mm-hmm.
Probably at the back of the cupboard. I, for my bruiser box this month, got Verdant in the hope of obviously securing a wee putty in there, because it's been in the box for the last 2 years, I believe. And guess what it was this year? I was like, no, bugger. Anyway, however, all the beers have been lovely, including this one. This is Lightning Struck itself. It is a 6.5% IPA, and it has Citra Nelson in there, and the hot and cold side. I like when they distinguish and they tell you that, which is always interesting. So Citra and Nelson Sauvin. This is just as Nelson out your nut. This is dry. This is like those kind of tropical flavors, the kind of grapes and melon coming through in it. It's got that distinctive verdant body, thick, viscous, goes in a treat. I think I can now tell when verdant yeast is getting used, because you can just kind of like smell it off the beer almost and get the body of it. And I'm finding that in other beers that use the verdant yeast, and you can tell in pretty much every single beer that I've had out of this box, it's all verdant yeast, which why would it not be, in fairness? But lovely stuff.
Did you go for the hype box or?
No, I didn't bother my arse.
No.
Didn't bother.
Oh.
I 50 quid.
Aye. Adele ordered it for Stephen, I think. So I'll get to find out what's in it.
Which, like, I was tempted, but nah. I can understand why they've done it at £50 because, like, a can of putty itself is £9.50 odd, £9.80, depending on what your bottle shop prices are. And then you're trying to fill it up with 7 more beers, because they say you're going to get 8 beers. Or 9 beers, I think it is, because I got 9 in that box.
Are they no promising a surprise triple as well? So
I think that's a separate box. But no, in fact, you're right. You're actually right. I'll shut up.
That's
you're right.
the one that aye. I think I'm right.
You're right. You're right. In Verdant the other day, as we record this, put it in social media that the Triple T will be reappearing again. So it's now common knowledge. Verdant box has been solid. I mean, do we expect anything different in fairness? Probably not. I've got 2 more left of the Verdant box. I've got Hells, and then I've got a Verdant staff pick of 2025. And a soft disco leisure reception is the name of the beer. Rolls off the tongue. So I'll get those cracked probably during this podcast. Right, that's because there's plenty of it. Let's get a news update in the world of craft beer.
News update.
What updates have you got for us, Mr. Muir?
Well,
Apart from the obvious.
Well, yes, but we'll come to that. But we're a bit remiss in our recording last week that we didn't mention the demise of, I know, certainly one of your favourite breweries in Scotland, mine too, and Overtone.
Yes.
Very sad to hear that the guys at Overtone are shutting up shop, and I think there was floating around the potential of it being bought by a number. There was a number of things in the pipeline, none of which we know for sure. So as it stands at the moment, Overtone in its current form is no more, which is a real shame. It really is.
Well, I mean, when you've got a brewery like that, which 3 years ago or 3 or 4 years ago, we would easily have said was potentially the best in Scotland, if not one of the best in the UK. Brand new beers every week, but sometimes 2 new beers every single week. And it was like big IPAs, big double IPAs, and you just knew what you were going to get. It's like similar to like breweries that we rely on now, like Beak, Verdant, Stewart's and stuff like that. You know what you're going to get, and they were tippity top.
Yes, definitely were. And but I think over the last, certainly the last year, maybe a little bit longer, they had some staffing changes and a few people moved on, and they didn't really they didn't seem able to capture that magic of Overtone that we, and there may well have been other reasons for that around, cash flow or whatever, trying to cut costs or things like that, but they didn't ever really seem to reach the heights of that kind of pre and just post pandemic where we all wanted Overtone to be that 6, 7, 8% IPAs and big dirty triples and things like that. So I mean, that kind of business model isn't really sustainable given the financial situation in brewing at the moment anyway, but it would be nice at least to see the Overtone brand continuing in some form, hopefully under the care of somebody who can brew the kind of beers that we would like to see. I would hate for it to return and then just be a brand with just mediocre beer. You know what I mean?
You would take for like one of the big macros to take it over and take the name and just use the name for the namesake. And like you said, just bring out mediocre beers. It just wasn't. It would never feel right. I don't want a watered down Ouija or a Last Bus to Yoker that's a 4% IPA or that that kind of thing. That would be a real shame. So hopefully, if it does, if the name does live on under the umbrella of somebody else, that they stay true to the Brewdog, the Overtone that we all love. Fingers crossed, because like you said, they were so good at pumping out good beers, and you could rely on them in terms of when you talk about triples and dippers and stuff, you'd pick it up because you knew it was going to be good. Obviously, they went down the track of the kind of darker beers and sours and stuff. We always tended to kind of stay clear because we knew it wasn't really their bag, and we've mentioned it numerous times with other breweries. Just stay in your lane. If you're good at something, just stay in your lane. But fingers crossed somebody picks them up. It would be a shame to see them disappear because, well, long time one of my favourite breweries, still are. It'll be a be a shame, a big shame. But it's just, again, it just shows the landscape of the craft beer world and just the beer world. Forget craft beer in general. It's tough old sloggers. We'll speak about Brewdog later on, but you've had that happening. I've seen on social media this week a couple of bottle shops have said that unless things change, they're going to be closing. It's much of a muchness around the craft beer industry at the moment. It's not fun. It's not fun. We'll say that one brew that is having fun. We spoke about it for a second before we started recording. Is obviously Vault City showing going for 10 mil, and
they're targeting £10 million in turnover this year. I don't know whether that's the year ending this April or it's saying that they're expecting to reach 10 million in the next 2 years. Which is really good, considering the struggles that the craft beer scene is having in general. It's nice to see these guys going from strength to strength. Hopefully, it's being done in a way that's sustainable and measured. It's not reaching for the stars with nothing supporting at the bottom. But knowing what we know about Vault City and the guys that are there, I think it will be done properly.
Good team over there, obviously. Joe being a part of that as well. And it seems like they're doing that in a sensible way. The new place looks incredible. I've not seen it in person, but the pictures and the videos I've seen, the place looks absolutely awesome. Need to go up and see that place sometime soon. But they're trying to obviously establish roots in that new establishment where they've set up and hopefully grow from there. I'm sure they will. I mean, they're in every single supermarket nowadays. There's no anywhere you go and you're not going to find them.
I just hope that they can continue to produce the big beers that we like, because being perfectly honest, the beers that are in the supermarkets just now aren't my cup of tea. And I've kind of went right off sours, but the beers that we had of old that were proper like smoothie sour beers, they're timeless and
guava.
Exactly. And if you were heading in that neck of the woods, it would definitely be the kind of beer that I would buy. I don't think I would go to the tap space and order a sour that I could get in Tesco.
No,
but it seems like they are maintaining that relationship with the supermarkets, and because it's been successful, so hopefully that continues.
I mean, it's obviously a big part of the business. We've obviously Mark said it a few times on different episodes where how important to some breweries that kind of supermarket arm is to keep a brewery alive. So as much as the margins are tight, it's still a super important piece. So I'm sure they'll do well.
But it does seem to me that brewing for a supermarket is kind of on a knife edge. Because one contract can get taken up and the next one might not be taken up, and that could be the difference, between job losses and prosperity. So we just keep our fingers and toes crossed that the guys at Vault City can ride out this difficult period and continue to thrive.
I'd be interested to know, Mark might potentially join us at some point this evening, but we've never spoke about it, but I'd be interested to find out how long these supermarket contracts tend to run. Is it a year-on-year basis? Is it a 2 or 3 years? Is it like a 2+1, etc.? Because surely in my head, from a salesperson head, you want, like you said, that you want stability. You want to be able to I'm going to get X amount of orders. That's what I've got coming in, so I can plan for the year. I can get my infrastructure in place that I can set my stall out. But if it's just a year contract, you're kind of.
But from a supermarket perspective, they want flexibility as well, because if the units aren't shifting, I mean, their contract is to buy, X number of units from Vault City, regardless of whether they sell on the shop floor or not. You know what I mean? So if they'll be wanting flexibility with their contracts so that they're not getting tied into 2 years of beer that's not going to sell.
I'd definitely be interested to find out how those work. Because
Mm.
I know with things that I've done work wise, certain contracts that you do, the customer, in this case, the supermarket, can essentially stipulate that if we don't sell X amount, then it goes back, and then they get a rebate, so to speak, on those units. But if Mark turns up, I will quiz him on that piece.
Right.
Any other bits you want to shout out, mate?
Well, yeah, we've had, or you'll forgive me for not knowing the exact date, but International Women's Day is making its annual appearance in the craft beer news scene, with various different breweries brewing special edition beers, often with all female staff or promoting a particular cause or whatever. But there's certainly a few that have been mentioned. Mondo have brewed one called Sophia Hazy Pale at 4.5. Hogsback, who we've had on the podcast, I believe. We've had Mondo on as well, haven't we? Yeah, we've had Mondo on. I'm sure we have. Sure we've had Mondo on. Hogsback have brewed a beer called Juliet, and that's a session beer. It's about 3.5%, 3.8. And that's all British, which was interesting. It was British grown barley, oats, and wheat, and then homegrown Cascade hops, with an addition of Hallertau Blanc and Citra. So obviously they're no homegrown, but it's good to not only be championing women in brewing, but also British produce. And the other one that I found was Full Circle have brewed a beer called Equal Measure. Again, another pale ale. This is in cask for International Women's Day, so that's good.
Good stuff. I'll give you an extra bit. And we should have been doing this forever, to be honest. And a sneak peek into next week's episode, where we should be joined by a gentleman called Paul, who is the founder of, I don't know if you might have seen it on social media and stuff, the little home brewery kit called Pinter. So we'll be speaking to Paul next week on the podcast to talk about Pinter.
I forget the times right.
Hi.
I don't know if I'm up for recording at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because that'd be
what's that?
3 in the morning.
No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. Oh. So that will be good fun. Because I think there's going to be especially with like craft beer enthusiasts like us, there'll be an arm of people that will be looking to start doing things at home to save a bit of cash. And most people now, because of COVID, have their own home bar. So having something like that would be
interesting to get the lowdown on that. And if one of us could get a try at it, that'd be great as well. So hopefully that can come to fruition. Will we do some new beers, and then we can talk about the elephant in the room? Or
let's do it.
The dog.
Beer Radar.
I stood on your toes there. The dog shit.
The dog shit. Dog-shaped elephant was what I had.
What have we got coming up now?
We have Beak have released BE, or just B, a 6.5% IPA, so you can, it's got to be good immediately. Yep. This one's got Nelson and Nectaron, supported by Mosaic and Vic Secret. Again, they're kind of par for the course is the old 6.5% IPA from Beak, but this particular hop bill caught my eye. I thought it would be quite good. One that I was a bit confused by, shall we say, is a beer that Siren are releasing called Chicane, and it's a 7.2% West Coast IPA, and it's shining a spotlight on the Peacherine hop, leading with a rush of nectarine and ripe peach.
I don't know if I want my Westie tasting peachy.
Well, that's what I thought.
Besides peach is hard to get anyway. Taste.
Yeah. I just nectarine maybe, but I would have said nectarines are more sweet than citrus, like more. You know when you get that kind of that citrus bitterness that you would maybe get from a grapefruit or a lemon or something like that. I would have said that a nectarine was much more sweet, even more so than like an orange, that kind of pithy orange flavour that they like in the West Coast. So that one was a bit confusing. But this IPA has gone above and beyond their brewing expectations, said the brewer.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Fair
they're
play.
going to shout about their own shit, aren't they? So, another one that popped up was from our friends at Drop Project, a fruited wheat beer, which I quite liked the sound of raspberries in it. We love a raspberry wheat beer. We've had several over the years that have kind of delivered in spades. This one looks lovely in the glass. And yeah, 4.8%, so nice and sessionable, just what you're looking for coming up to that kind of the normal good weather spell that we get in around Easter time. So yeah, because that's normally our summer up here in Scotland, is the 2 weeks of good weather that we get in April. That's kind of it.
I think there's been one day it's no rained.
Aye, yeah. We heard about all that shit on the news. Well, it didn't rain in Armadale today, so
there you
go. Another one is Icebreaker, a cold IPA, 5.5% from Kirkstall. Centennial, Citra, and Chinook. So I think that would be quite good. I think. I don't know.
Aye.
I don't know about Kirkstall, but I think the beer on paper looks really good.
That's my concern.
Another kind of hybrid is Lush Rat. It's called, from Osset. 5.3% DDH XPA. Really cool can, and this is gooseberry, white grapes, and a twist of lime zest. Again, just over 5% and looks really crushable. They're kind of coming a bit early with the good weather beers. And I drank a beer last week from New Barns, the Cedar Pills, which was the collaboration with Finback, which was really good, I thought. Brew York have gone down a similar route, and they're releasing a beer called Cypress Pills, a West Coast Pilsner, 5.5%. It doesn't tell me the hops on this particular website, but it's a classic crisp Pilsner base, West Coast attitude with bold hops. Expect bright citrus and pine and a touch of resin, a subtle floral edge over clean malt. So it sounds really, really good. Brew York aren't particularly a brewery that I have a lot of, but I would definitely pick that up if I seen it.
It's obviously everyone's going in the same direction, and Mark said that for about 5 or 6 years, if not since we started the podcast. He's like, "Oh, it's a year of beer, it's a year of pils, it's a year of lager," and it's never really been. But this think would be that feels like this is the time, because obviously we spoke about the Williams Bros one, Kerry, last week. I know another big brewery, a similar size to Williams Bros, is doing the exact same, coming at a premier lager, and you've just mentioned those kind of pils beers. It appears to everyone that it's going to be a big push for lager. It makes sense because of the duty and everything that's the press that we spoke about before. So it could very well be the year of lager this time.
I hope so, and I hope that. I mean, it's very unlikely to happen because the percentage of people who are buying these kind of beers are a tiny percentage of the drinking public in the UK. But it would really be nice if some independent breweries sold some lager and really got it up the Carlings and the Tennants and the fucking Fosters and all that shit. It would be really nice if we could get some independent lager on some taps and bars. We know how hard it is, though.
We do indeed. Before we speak about that main piece that I know everyone has been talking about the last week, we'll lighten the mood before we do so. I have a little cheery number from our friend. Yep, that's the one, but I can't find the button. He's a little dunkel for us.
What the dunkel?
No done my hair this week, or the glasses. I've got one for you. So that's
Got a new housemate. Came home the other night, went into his room. He was in bed burning candles. And I was like, it smells like incest in here. He was like, I think you mean incense. Right? And he laughed. His sister laughed. Got a new house.
Brilliant. Really good. Love that one.
Too funny. That's Mark Simons on TikTok, comedian. Go and check out his page. Not that he needs advertising, but yeah, I've stole these clips, so go and check out his stuff. Right then, the big bit of news, obviously, has been that Brewdog have put themselves up for sale, and it's a mixed bag. People being happy about it, and then obviously there's the outcry and just the response and stuff from people on social media. I watched Johnny Garrett's video about it. I've seen people saying, "Oh, I knew this was coming for years. I've said this for the last 5 years." And there's a bit of me that goes, "No, you're talking shit," because it's only been coming the last 6 or maybe 8 months. And like, if you read the tea leaves, and we mentioned it a couple of months, like maybe 3 or 4 months ago, when they were pushing out,
when they sold all those properties, like when they shifted all those premises, I think that was when the alarm bells started ringing. Certainly for me,
it was that, and then like selling all those bits. The big bit for me was, I think, summer last year when they were doing a big push, and I think it actually might have been around Six Nation times, so around about now, when they were chucking out beers at the bars for £1. And you don't do that to make a profit. You don't make profit on that beer. And I mean, I've done sales and stuff long enough to be in sitting meetings where people talk about EBITDA, and that's all about the kind of how the sellability and the like profitability of a business, and how like good it looks to prospect buyers. And you do, when you're trying to raise that interest, you want to increase your EBITDA, and that's just purely getting money into the business. Forget profit; it's just getting money come in. So you just fucking put prices rock bottom, get a ton of revenue in. It brings up your EBITDA so that it looks more prosperous for people buying it. So that's when it started for me. That it looks like they're going to be selling, and we mentioned it. So obviously we're at this. So when the people are like, "Oh, I've been saying this for 5 years," no, you're talking shit, absolute shit. You've just been saying that since the documentary came out and since all that stuff happened. Then you're like, "Oh, I hate James Watt. Fuck Brewdog," and they're going to have to fucking sell now. Like, get real.
Well, what it's probably worth saying, we could probably for libelous reasons say that there's not been anything confirmed about selling or being put up for sale. What they've done is they've called in consultants,
yes,
in order to try and garner new investment. But that has the potential for areas of the business to be broken up and sold piecemeal, in order to try and keep certain areas going under new investment or that kind of thing. So yeah, that's the kind of situation that they're in. And they've come out and said that they've not made any changes to staffing, they've not made any changes to operations, they've not made any changes to their day-to-day or plans for the future. They've just made this decision to try and respond to a difficult marketplace and things like that. But it is understandably worrying times for the people who are working there, and also the punks that have invested in their
the folk that
the punk scheme.
Because there's a strong chance they're the ones that are going to get bent over in any sale, because like you said, I think everything does get split up, and aspects of the company get sold. I guarantee the equity fund that have a large portion of the shares, they're going to get prioritized first, obviously.
Yes. So the investment firm TSG, they purchased a 22.3% stake in Brewdog, and that was in 2017. And it was £213 million that they invested. But the nature of that investment meant that any potential sale in the future, they've got a guaranteed return on their investment. And because the people who have maybe bought shares with the equity for punks, I don't imagine that those contracts that they'll have signed when they bought their share and they've got their pint of punk IPA will have that kind of clause in it. So the first however much that gets sold would go to this TSG, and then the rest would be amongst the other shareholders who have those kind of agreements, and then the bottom of the rung will be the people who started the brewery, essentially. And this is one of the stories that I was reading kind of just before we started recording around the punk equity investors and how disappointing it is. Because their investments are, I'll have the figure right in front of me. Oh shit, £220 million that punks have invested in Brewdog from its inception to now, across various different rounds of crowdfunding and things like that. And they'll have got their discounts at the bars, and they'll have got their invitations to the AGM up in Aberdeen, which was always a good night out by all accounts. But there's some people in this article that have invested, considerable amount of money. £2,500 was one of the ones that I had. I mean, and it's your money, you do what you like, but I find that a bit silly. And he seems to have the guy that I'm talking about seems to have come to terms with the fact that he's not going to see any of that. It just seems a bit shitty. But I carry on, mate. Sorry.
No, you're right. It does seem shitty because, like you said, those equity punk members 100% won't have that clause that you mentioned in their contract. If anything,
they're not going to get anything.
They'll have the opposite of that clause. That if any sale happens, that they'll be they won't get much back. The other bit, the bit. I mean, some people will probably say they've potentially had their bit back when they've got the discounts at the bar.
Well, it depends how much you spend. I mean, because I can remember back in the day going into a Brewdog bar, and your share and your pint of punk IPA was about 40 odd quid, and you bought your share, you got your punk IPA, and then got you a discount for life at the bar. It was 10% or something like that. And then if you're a frequent, visitor to Brewdog bars, you chances are you probably have recouped your money that you've spent on your single share. But for those that are spending a little bit more money and buying more than that, then you're never going to see that back. No. But what really tickled me was that in the last Equity for Punks funding, which was in 2021, right, they sold £30 million worth of shares at £25, 15 pence each, which implies a valuation of about £2 billion.
Oh,
right, and this was back. You remember this was back when they were talking about floating the company on the stock market, and then a year later, they had a private auction on the platform Asset Match. I don't know if you've ever heard of this platform, and shares were being sold for £6.50 each. That was a year later, which valued the company at less than 520 million. So immediately, if you bought shares in 2021 at £25 each, a year later they're worth a quarter of that.
Yep.
And it's just it's crazy.
Our big friend has joined us. He's in the building.
Yes,
MD, good evening.
He's in the building.
Good eve. Apologies.
Guess what we're talking about?
I guess we're talking.
Let me guess. Haircuts and I don't know if I have.
Okay, you're not getting one.
I got a fresh cut the other day. Beautiful. Yeah, the Brewdog thing. Obviously, I got the tail end of what Cal was saying there in terms of the share price and the drop and all the rest of it. One, I'm not surprised. at that. The whole 2 billion thing was a bit pie in the sky stuff when James was chasing Heineken. But I've got to admit, like, it's a bittersweet. I don't know if you've touched on this, but for me, like, it is like it's hard to see the most influential craft brewery in the UK go to shit, basically, and there's a lot of reasons for it. But us four wouldn't be drinking craft beer as much or if any as we are at this moment in time if it wasn't for Brewdog and you know,
I hadn't touched on that particular.
They are one of the pioneers and one of the Brewdog helped turn craft beer into a mass market phenomenon in Britain and push it into the masses and push it in the supermarkets and stuff.
I just think that any person buying over the Brewdog name, excuse me, or whatever from now on, I think they would struggle to have that buy-in from the public because it would be so obvious that it wasn't even close to what it was before.
You would say the same with Beavertown and that with Heineken and Salt and
that happened so long ago though, Mark, that I just
different. I think it's different.
Before you came on, we spoke about Overtone and about how we were hopeful that it would be taken over and the name would live on and it would be put under the stewardship of somebody that would continue to make good beer. And I think they're at that kind of level where they've got, yes, within the craft beer scene, they've got a name that stands out, and under the right stewardship of the right brew team and things like that, they could make beer that would be quote unquote Overtone beer again, and the name could live on. I just didn't see that happening with Brewdog. You know what I mean?
It's a totally different monster. Like how do I put this? Like, there's probably two people. There's probably more, unless it's like private equity companies will be able to look at buying it and all the rest of it and see if they can rejig. But there's probably two big breweries that realistically could buy it that may be tickled into putting in offers in. But brewing, like that site at Ellen is massive. Like I can't even, like, it is unbelievably big. You know what I mean? I can't remember the numbers I got told today, like in terms of the brew kit, like their hectoliter. I can't. It was like something ridiculous. It was like something like 8 times the size of what we brew. It was like mad, and put in a spit. But we were chatting about it earlier, and it was sort of like the only way this really works, and the reason they got the 2 billion valuation at one point is because they were splitting it.
Oh, the assets that
they were splitting assets up, and it was the name itself and the IPs, the brews, all that, the recipes, the actual physical assets itself, the brewery, the tap space, that overworks site that's across the road, you know, and then the bars, like you say, the bars are like worldwide, you know, and it's an absolute juggernaut. So, like, I think there's, like you say, there's a couple like people, and again, how far are we in? 40 minutes. So, like, I like, you know, Carlsberg put an offer in last year to buy Brewdog, and they didn't want to touch anything to do with the bars. They wanted everything else. But I don't know if this was last year. It was after the Heineken thing anyway, because the Heineken thing was the same. Like, that's where it was like, we want to pull in all the bars and all the rest of it. So Carlsberg, I could see doing it again. To what ilk and what benefit that has them, I don't, like, again, I don't know. Like, but
I just think that if that was to happen, like if a Carlsberg was to come in and say, right, well, we're not interested in your bars, right, so you can do what you like with them, they'll get sold, They'll get closed down and bought over by somebody else to do whatever with, whether it's another bar or a restaurant or whatever it is. So they're out the picture. Carlsberg buy the brewing kit and the name and the recipes and all the rest of it. Right? For forevermore. If those beers appear in a pub, if you go into a pub and they're pouring Punk IPA or Hazy Jane, you know that it's fucking a Carlsberg imitation, because as soon as a brewery like that takes it over, it's like Beavertown. Do you know, Neck Oil now isn't what Neck Oil was when Beavertown was an independent brewery.
It's probably the biggest selling IPA in the country, though.
So, but then to that thing then as well, but Punk isn't what it used to be.
No.
So Punk's probably more mainstream than it's ever been, because
so Brewdog set up site in Ohio or North Carolina or somewhere in the States.
I think it was Ohio. I think you're right, it was Ohio.
And they brew 2 days a week in Ohio, and it's predominantly Elvis juice. And it was a 50-50 split originally with Punk and Elvis juice. But the Americans never picked it up, right? And I get it, you know, like you think cracking our IPA game's hard. You know what I mean? Like cracking their IPA game as you walk into a bar as a core IPA, you know, and it's nothing that's like, you know, blowing the world away.
Yeah.
But if you were adding, like, the thing is, if somebody takes it over and they just put a different badge on the Punk recipe, and you didn't call it Punk, right? But you have another brew down, you have Lost Lager, you have Elvis Juice, you have Hazy Jane, which is a huge selling beer, right? Folk are going to plough through the liquid of it because it's another IPA that touches the bases, and it'll be cheaply made, and it will be the same as Neck Oil. And for us craft beer enthusiasts as such, like, I can't remember the last time I bought a pint of, I would rather drink Moretti than I would drink Neck Oil if I was in a hiking spot.
To your point there, that we would be the only people that would notice the difference. Like, your common drinker probably doesn't even know about this story. No,
but if you like IPA, you drink IPA when you go out, don't you? And whatever IPA.
I know, but what I'm saying, like, your casual like IPA drinker who goes on a Friday, Saturday night and grabs a couple of IPAs because he's just wetting his whistle and kind of letting off a bit of steam. They're not going to go, oh, they'll probably find it in 2 years' time that Punk Brewdog got sold. So for them, they won't notice the difference. It's the likes of me and you that will notice the difference. The one bit that I find interesting is, out of all those IPs and all those assets that are going to get stripped down, like the name, the recipes, the physical assets and the brewing kit, etc., the one bit for me that I think has got the least amount of value is actually the name, because of the damage that it's had over the last couple of years. However, at the same time, in the same sentence, like, I don't think you can change it, because if you do change it and you try and go in as a fresh new beer, it's going to be difficult to break and like keep that level of sales, because, like you said, it's the best selling beer. So why would you change the name?
It's a really tricky one. Honestly, it is it's a total fuck fest. Like, it really is.
There was one line, just to finish this chatting about Brewdog. There was one line.
I've got a little bit. Sorry, carry on.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Talking about James Watt. He's obviously maintained maintained quite an active social media profile and things like that. But he was rumoured. He was rumoured to have made £50 million when TSG bought their stake in Brewdog. He still holds a stake in the company, so he's not. Although he stepped down from his roles in the company, he still owns a stake in the company. And there's now rumours spiraling around that he is seeking out investment on his own and corralling support to try and buy back the brewery. What are your thoughts on that?
In a way, that's like, oh, sorry, go on then, Gav.
No, I was going to say, I'm sure he was. Did you start doing that about a month ago or a month and a half ago?
But he's going to know this was coming down the pipe.
True.
In all honesty with you, that's probably the best case scenario for the place.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably the best case scenario. Like, put it back in the hands of the person that built it, and if they can get investment, then it's just it'll tick over. And whether they change the ways and if they can, how do I say this? Because there's a few wrinkles to it. Because with it hitting administration and all the rest of it, there's a lot of jobs at stake. There's a lot of, you mentioned the shareholders. There's a lot of people's money and pensions that are going to get annihilated because of this. And there'll be a few people rather pissed off if he swoops in and buys it for pennies on the dollar, right? And everybody else is at a few bob. But at the end of the day, he started it for nothing. So, and he's cashed it and all the rest of it. But the name and everything is naturally always going to be associated with him anyway. So for me, it's probably best case scenario. Does it really change anything for us? Does it change anything for anybody? Like, no is the answer for me. So, like, part of me wants it to live on because it has been a pioneer and all the rest of it, right? And because it has opened up so many jobs. And I seen Charlotte. I was going to say Church there. It's not Church. Charlotte used to brew with them, and I know she had a big issue with them. I read her Substack today, and her point, and I totally kind of agreed with it, was that, you know, it's happy news that this place has kind of got it's come up in, I suppose. However, there's a lot of good people that are still working and still trying to produce really good beer, and it's a really a bittersweet was the word I used, and kind of coined it off. And I just
see my thought on it is, and when you kind of sit down and think about it, is the brewery and Brewdog itself, and what the allegations and stuff that happened with James Watt are in itself two separate things, and they should be treated in that respect, but they're two separate things. The Brewdog name got tarnished because of him, and it's his fault. So when the bit when he stepped away from the business, I think I was happier about that than hearing this, when they're like hearing that Brewdog could be up for sale and it could be no more. It won't be no more. There's something will happen, because it's like you said, it's one of the best-selling IPAs in the country. Well, the best-selling. So they should be treated in that ilk where they are two separate things. Because, like you said, loads of jobs at risk. The other bit for me is all these bars that they've got. I still visit them, and the reason I visit them is because they've got a guest list. I've got a chance to go and try some local brewery beers, because they have one or two taps open. They might have some beers from America and stuff on. The fridges will be filled with other beers and stuff. So it doesn't just affect kind of Brewdog in itself. It will affect little breweries where they were getting their beers out there to the masses, to more people than they've ever done before.
They're buying a lot of beer. I know that for a fact. They were buying
we've spoke about how hard it is, and you spoke a million times how hard it is to get a beer on tap. And if those beers get taken over by the Heinekens, by AB, Molson Coors, whoever it may be, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to get the opportunity. So it's a I would rather they just stayed. I don't want to see Brewdog go, if I'm being honest. They are two separate things. I think there's so many jobs at risk, and the way independent breweries are getting fucked over at the moment, it would be really, really shit.
Can't really agree. Can't really say much more than that, to be fair. That's kind of where I sit with that too. It's just it's a really hard situation. Because I see them as a macro. I see them as and so it's like saying if Heineken went up the shitter and whatever, or Bellhaven or Pennants, or somebody along those lines, you'd be sort of oh, right, it has such a ripple effect across the whole industry. But at the same time, dare I say it, it's going to create a really good opportunity for me to sell more beer into places because you know I have another IPA that's pretty good that is probably quite national that I could probably fill a load of holes at, you know, and
does
and
it shine a light on another issue? Not necessarily Brewdog, but a mismanagement of Brewdog in terms of finances. Obviously, over the last 5 years, only having one, or 6 years, only having one profitable years, which was 1.2 million. And then after that, it was £12 million losses, 9 million, 30 million, 59 million, and 37 million.
All that money is getting reinvested. Like the money they make, they're like so. Like,
but what I'm getting at is that show a mismanagement of that money, and wherever it goes, was it a mismanagement in the sustainability of the brewery, and does it shine a light on breweries who want to and like to do crowdfunders? Because obviously Brewdog did a ton with their equity punk. Does it, if a big-ish brewery, let's say like we've spoken about Vaults at the start, who have done 2 or 3 themselves, does it make them think again about doing one and just going, actually, let's just stay where we are because we've seen what's happened to Brewdog?
I think if you're using the money correctly for the right reasons, then like so Vault, like building that place in Edinburgh is they're building roots for future, and I think the mismanagement for me is trying to take over the world before like it's the whole running before you can
Run
walk
before you walk.
Yep.
and whereas for me, what Vault are trying to do now is they're trying to build a spot that will allow them to do the things in the future that will they can grow into the space.
Yeah.
Now that space they've got is massive, but so they're going to be able to do stores and brewing and tap space and everything basically in the one spot, which has its benefits. Whereas for me, like every that phase, and again, I'll just give it like the 5-year window of like whatever it was, like 2018 to 2023. How many Brewdog bars were opened across the world?
Mm-hmm.
Right, like I remember reading about one in like it was like Mumbai or something, and I thought to myself, no, but like, and I remember thinking like, holy man, like the Vegas one obviously got all the bells and whistles and all the rest of it. My God, you know, and they were going to put the big Brewdog sign on the strip and that, right? Now, for me, that's probably money worth investing in, right? But the fact that it was like, you know, and I'm not like Mumbai, like for all our, you know, our Indian listeners, they know, like, apologise, right? But the fact is, like it wasn't like, right, let's open another this year. It was like it was the constant, you know, and it was Copenhagen, Mumbai, Milan.
Will all that shit be franchised, though, do you think?
I don't know. Potentially.
Because that's like saying, you know, oh, there's a Subway opening up. That's not necessarily Subway that have opened up a new shop. That money's coming out of Subway's pocket. It's somebody that's bought a franchise.
Yeah.
And has said, you know, I want to operate a Brewdog pub in Mumbai. Here's the money.
I'm fairly convinced they were all probably awfully owned by Brewdog and they weren't franchised bars. Because I know, well, I could be wrong. Maybe some of them were, but I know the one in Waterloo that they did, Waterloo Station in London, that's a proper Brewdog one, because they were advertising that as one of the biggest ones. I can't remember what they.
So the simple answer to that question, Cal, is yes, they are franchised. Like basically, like for the most part, well, not all of them. Some franchise bars: Bangkok, Thailand, Pentridge, Melbourne, Dubai, Amsterdam. Like, you know, just to name
those.
A few here.
Those are operating. They're opened and operating at a very minimal risk to the company as a whole. Then surely, it's the franchisee. It's the Mark Dixon, the Gavin Baxter that's fronting the money to open up a Brewdog pub. They're taking the risk there. But yeah, we mentioned we briefly mentioned the staff and things, and it's, you know, your heart goes out to people with, you know, being such a big player. They've got lots and lots of staff, not only at the site at Ellenmark, like you say, it's massive. There's loads of people there making good beer, but you've also got the front of house staff that are working in all these bars, the kitchen staff, the people that are, you know, working in the pubs all around the world. I believe that they received one email from the staff. If they received one email from the execs to tell them what was happening, and in a lot of cases that happened after the press were already reporting the situation. So that is a bit shitty, in my opinion. And there's already stories about people's, I think the union, they're obviously members of unions and things like that, but there's information on some of the sites that I've read tonight that are saying that there's already staff getting their hours cut and things like that. So there's already people that are working there that are worse off. So hopefully these people are okay, and the future is bright.
As long as, like, I just don't see there being that many jobs industry wide. Like, bar jobs are different, I suppose, but, like, you know, brewers are, I'm not saying a dime a dozen, but like a good brewers, like they're hard to come by, and these good brewers tend to be locked either into their own thing, or if they are with a brewery, then you know, getting a transfer, as we've seen that a few times last year. Was that last year where, like, there was like 3 brewers that kind of transferred for like logistical reasons. They were closer to family, and like they ended up, I can't remember who that was now, but that was quite funny. But I don't know. It's like I said, it's a shit show. Like, there's nothing else. Without trying to, like, you know, I'm trying to polish a fucking shite a little bit about it, but it's just such a crap situation across the board. And you know, I keep Captain Flip Flop of me goes between, I'm glad they've got their comeuppance here, right? I'm glad this is where it's hit, because it has been a mismanagement of a brand that we all used to love. Like, you know, it's played a huge impact in all our, like, drinking life, culture, growing up, and all the rest of it. So there's part of me that's got a wee bit of nostalgic aspect to it, and then the other part of me is like, in all honesty with you, it doesn't really change anything.
Question. So if we rewind back to 2019, 88, whenever all those allegations came out with James Watt and the kind of bad name that tarnished, or the bad things that tarnished the kind of Brewdog name, would your feelings be different if, when all that happened, Brewdog execs and directors acted differently and said, "You're suspended, you need to leave the company," and things rolled on as they were, and Brewdog took action against James and said, "Right, regardless of whether they're true or not, you need to step away from the company completely, and you're going to get, like, you need to fuck off," basically? Would your feelings be different to what they are now? Because they never really did much. Because everyone's feelings with the Brewdog name are because of that.
Yeah, the probably would be a little bit different if they took stronger action. I think a lot of it was, like, when all the stories were coming out, and, you know, all the issues that they had, I suppose, is the easiest way to put it. Like, I think for me, like, Brewdog had already slipped down the totem pole by then, and they became a bit irrelevant for me. And for me, it was more of I can't believe a company of this size, who have made a huge song and dance about doing the right thing. And, you know, we joked, like, how many jokes have we got about the whole planting the trees thing, and we're trying to be better, we're trying to change the planet, we're trying to do that, and all the stuff then came out about, you know, sexual.
I'm just
harassment.
asking the question, like ask the question. Like, I agree with you, like, but just to get the full picture of the story, because there'll be people out there who will just it's all just James, blah blah. It doesn't affect my opinion on Brewdog, etc., etc. Because I know we've very rarely drank Brewdog stuff since, and I think to your point, Mark, it was because like the beer wasn't tasting as good.
No, it
From
was
what we
just
remember.
it was just it has been a letdown, and I think you say they were gateway beers,
Yeah.
and then you realised, oh, these are like we were talking about 5 a.m. Saint today, right? Then you remember 5 a.m. Saint? Like,
Yeah.
for me, that was like that, and what was the other one? Was it Three Pony Club?
Right.
Dead Pony, was it Dead Pony Club? Was that
Dead,
what it was?
dead Pony.
They changed the name of it, I think. But I remember
See,
if you drank Punk and that, and you were like, "Oh, this is quite nice," and all the rest of it. And obviously, Elvis Juice went through its change and ABV and all the rest of it, right? But they two beers were just outrageously good, and they
see on
discontinued them
that
because- sorry.
on that, the head brewer from Emperor's Brewing, he put a post up, and if you try and find it, type up Emperor's Brewery on Facebook, type up that and look at his post. He's like, oh, I've pulled it. He's like, oh, after the sad news or the news about Brewdog being put up for sale, I delved into the stash to find one of my favourite beers of theirs, Paradox Isla. He pulled out, which is an astonishing 14% whiskey cask aged imperial stout in the old school labelling. He has got, and if you scroll down all the other pictures, he has got about 4 of these, and he's got amples of other classic Brewdog beers like barley stuff. And I was like, that's not a fucking stash, mate. That's a gold mine. That is insane. So I jump on Facebook and search for that, because his stash is ridiculous. And I commented and he said, this isn't even half the stash. I was like, you filthy animal.
Oh, I can imagine, but that's the thing, like, those beers are iconic, and like you say, that it was what made Brewdog great. Do you know what I mean? And these were the, like, there wouldn't be an Emperor's without Brewdog. Like, I haven't read the whole post, but like, there's no way. Like, you think about the beers that Emperor are making and all these barrel aged stuff that he's got sitting, like, for Brewdog. Like, you're taking notes with that, isn't it? It's game changing stuff, and the amount of people that have got into the industry are brewing now, are selling now, are making, like, how many breweries are of people like Lucio, the old head brewer at West, that I obviously know really well. He's ex-Brewdog. He went through a few different training stuff and then ended up there for a bit, and it's just.
It's a like you say, it's a bittersweet kind of thing for the craft beer, proper craft beer geeks of the world, who obviously with everything that happened, we're happy to see it, but at the same time, when you think about it and you dive into history and you look at all the people that have came from Brewdog or have been inspired by Brewdog, it is a little bit sad. Someone will probably come in and take some of the assets. Some of it will be lost. My hope is the bars, especially, they don't turn into macro bars, don't turn into Green Kings, don't turn into bloody Morse and Coles or whatever it may be, and it's just full of crap beer. I hope they stay open as independent places that you can get independent beer from. So it's a mixed bag, and I think it is a mixed bag across the kind of craft beer industry. If you properly look at it, the people are like, oh, like, fuck them, blah blah. Like, get real. Like, there's people's jobs at risk here. Like, just get fucking real.
If you're into craft beer, you've drank Brewdog. Like, I'm sorry, like, unless you have been, like, you have picked up Brewdog after this, but you were like, the only reason you wouldn't have done that is like, you know, if you knew about it, but you somehow managed to deep dive your way into like, you know, like uber craft stuff without going through it. But, you know, it shows, the thing is though, and this is the bit that's scary, is that it shows you the state of the industry in a way. Like there's a lot of mismanagement and there's a lot of like issues, but, you know, they obviously heavily developed recipes. They've put money into bars and like bricks and mortar. They've put money into staff training. They've put money into, you know, everything, like getting hops over from the States, all that kind of stuff. Like they have invested heavily into all that, and it's just
it's like watch this space. Obviously, the story will evolve over the next couple of weeks. We will see what happens with Brewdog. I believe, because I've got nothing else written down. Did you have extra bits, Callum, you wanted to touch on, or am I just making it up? No, I'm making it up. Super fantastic. Well, in that case, I'm not going to bother. In fact, I'll finish obviously what I've just finished drinking, because to make sure I highlight it, because it was very, very good. Very, very, very nice. Another Verdant beer, the Hells, 4.8 percentage points.
Classic.
Hellas, bright light, lager, soft malty, smooth, rounded with a tiny flourish of hibiscus hops. Clean and very, very moreish. It's fucking good. Very nice. It's everything it says on the can. It's crisp, it's clean. There's a wee bit of floral notes in the back of it. And we were saying at the kind of start of the podcast, MD, I think your prediction finally that you've been saying for the last 4 or 5 years, this will be, and probably feels like it will be, the year of lager.
Yes.
It's only took you long enough.
I think it's what everybody drinks. It's the end of the day. Everybody's chasing the taps. Everybody's chasing the big volume. Lager it makes up a huge proportion of the actual volume of beer drank in the country. So it's a no-brainer. And there is breweries doing it really well. Like I was reading Gavin's Pillars thing the other day about independent craft lager and all the rest of it, and it resonated quite a lot, obviously. So yeah, I think, and even Budvar they're doing their new thing this year with the Italian brewery, like to bring it in. You know, seen this? No.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Budvar and Birardelli.
Couldn't tell you what it is, but it was Miguel. Was it Miguel that sent it, the Instagram post the other day?
That sounds like a Miguel thing for sure. But
it looks interesting anyway.
Year of lager's the way forward, but there is a lot of really good independent breweries making really good lager. So stick with them.
No. As always, if you listened, make sure you subscribe, hit that ding-a-ling link to be notified of every single episode. Show your support by giving us a 5-star rating. Show your official support by going to patreon.com/beer fridge podcast, where you can get every episode early. For myself and the gents, until next time, cheery ball.